Almost on a lark one time, my family and I went to Easter Island, Isla de Pasqua, or Rapa Nui, which is the real name for the place. Hangaroa is the main town, really the only town on Rapa Nui. It's a very small island. And of course, it's famous for these moai, these big heads that the inhabitants built 1,000 years ago and lay around on the island today. So you probably wouldn't associate Easter Island with excellent equestrian riders, horsemen, cowboys. But because of its association with Chile and Chile's association with the gauchos, I know most people associate the gauchos with Argentina, but Chile, Argentina, Uruguay, even Brazil, they all have these gauchos, these cowboys who wear the beret and they have the poncho on and the khaki pants and the boots. So we were on Easter Island, and we were in an area where some of these moai were at. And the moai are on top of these platforms, and the platforms are actually graves. We didn't know that. It was kind of stupid on our part, but we didn't know that. And we were getting close to the moai to take some pictures, and this man rode up. And he was a Rapa Nui. And he told us in Spanish not to do this. And he explained to us because there were graves. So, okay, that was fine. We didn't do it. We didn't want to be disrespectful. And then he immediately put the press on us if we wanted to go horseback riding. So we set up this scene where we were going to go riding the following day. And we were staying at this little hotel, and he rides up on his horse in the morning, and he picks us up, and we go over to his house, and he saddles up some horses, and off we go. We go riding. And for an entire day, we're out riding around on Rapa Nui. And we rode out to this place to go fishing, and he was 50 years old at the time, and he had this fantastic long black hair that was blowing behind him. And he wanted to catch 50 fish that day, and we were using raw chicken as a bait. Now, as an American, I would never bite into raw chicken, but this is what he was doing, biting into raw chicken and putting it on the hook and throwing it in the water. And so I had to bite this raw chicken and put it on the hook and throw it into the water. And as we were riding along at one point, after having caught all of these fish, we're riding along this unbelievable scene with the ocean crashing up against these cliffs. And he had us flying on these horses. My daughter was young at the time, but she had taken some horseback riding lessons, so she was pretty good. My wife was holding on, just screaming as the horse was going along, and I was just holding on, hoping I wasn't going to fall off. And as we're riding along, I looked behind, and he was behind us, and his hair was just blowing in the breeze. And the way he had his horse set up was he had just a blanket over the horse. He had no reins on the horse, and he was controlling the horse just by holding on to its mane. And as we're flying along, we had these terrible saddles. My hat, which was a hat exactly like this, a Santa Ana College hat, flew off my head. And as it flies off my head, and we're galloping on the horses, I look back, and he grabs the mane of his horse. He tilts himself sideways, and all in one motion, grabs the hat, picks it up, puts it on his head backwards like this, and continues to ride. I was almost weeping. It was so beautiful. It was an unbelievable display of being able to ride a horse. Meanwhile, I was holding on, just hoping that I wasn't going to fall off the horse and die. We got back to his house, and he filleted up these fish, and he made the most fantastic ceviche I've ever had. And I left that hat on his head on Easter Island.